Hey there, I'm Lauren, owner of Imagined Awakenings, and I'm ready to get creative with some resin. So, as always, make sure safety is first and use your safety gear when working with epoxy resin and work in a well ventilated area. Alright, so in this video, I am working with some iridescent pigments again. This time I'm using them with some Hamsa Hands, um, a feather that has a lot of detail, and a lotus blossom. So here you'll just see that I am brushing the pigment onto the actual mold itself, and I like to make sure that I thoroughly brush it in any corner and crevice and along the sides because I want to make sure the whole entire thing is covered. And I really like doing this method because it really brings out all the detail in these molds. So I'm going to brush the pigment on the Hamsa hand with the most detail, and then I'm also going to brush it onto the feather because it has a lot of detail, and then I'm also going to brush it onto the in the lotus blossom mold. And you got to kind of dig pretty deep in that one because it's got a lot of depth to it. So I like to use a small paintbrush to apply the pigment to the mold. I started off doing it with cotton Q-tips, whatever they're called, cotton swabs, Q-tips. I started doing it with those, but they didn't go so well, and the Q-tip would start the cotton would start coming off the stick, and then it was really annoying, and that got old fast. So the paintbrushes work really well. They work the best as far as my so humble opinion, as I think. And so I'm not going to put any pigment into the other Hamsa hand mold. It doesn't have as much detail. It still has a nice effect, but I'm just going to leave that one blank for now. right, now that I've got all of them coated, I just like to kind of turn them over and just like pat it against the table or pat it with my hand so that I can get any like kind of loose particles out of there, just to give it a smoother finish. So now I'm going to add glitter, of course, to some of the cups. And so that one I added glitter and translucent color. And this one is going to be glitter. And then I used some iridescent color and I'm going to put it directly into the resin this time. I've done that once before. The effect was it was interesting, different. So I thought I would try it again, this time with the Hamsa Hand. Hamsa Hand, my goodness. Okay. And then more iridescent color for the other two cups. I like going with darker iridescent colors because I think that it kind of makes the iridescent I've been saying that all wrong. It's not iridescent pigments. Well, the pigments are iridescent, but the other translucent, that's what they are. Oh my gosh, terrible. Sorry. Okay. Those are translucent drops that I put into the cups. Oopsie. Yeah. So translucent drops into the cups. And then one of the glitter cups has iridescent pigment along with it. Okay. Now that I've just untwisted my whole mind and corrected myself, I had some resin that I mixed off camera. And I'm just measuring that into the cups that I poured my coloring into. Again, that was translucent coloring. The iridescent pigment is what I brushed into the molds. Oh my god. Anyway, so I like to go with darker iridescent colors because I think it just kind of makes the iridescent pigments pop better. But that's just my opinion. You do you. Or not. So I've mixed up the colors into the resin, and now I am just going to pour them into the molds. All right, so on to the next thing. This one I'm going to do my moon tray. That's what I call it. And so first to start off with, I like to put a thin layer of resin at the very bottom. Usually it's too thin and it's not quite enough when I put it in there. So I thought I would add more. So I already have my moon phases ready and cured to go into the wet resin. And that's just so it can have a uniform look. If I put the moon phases in there first and then pour the resin, it doesn't fully cover the bottom, or I guess it would be tops technically when I pull it out of the mold, of the moons. So I started pouring resin in first, if that makes sense. Anyway, so I think this might have been the first time that I actually put them in wet resin. I usually let the resin cure a little bit, or firm up some before I put the moons in there. But do something different, right? Anyway, so as I was putting the moons in there, I realized that it turned out to be more resin than I thought. And I really didn't have space for what I initially planned for. That'll happen a million more times, I'm sure. Usually what I do is once I get them all in there, I take translucent, I'm gonna get that word together at some point. I take translucent color and then kind of pour it all over everything, and then it just sort of gives it this cool sort of spacey out there look. And I put some sparkle in there because who doesn't like sparkle, and it just goes with the moons. All right, so as I was progressing, I was realizing that wasn't a thing. So I had to change up at the last minute, which is, that's how I do. So I decided to go with alcohol inks because, That's a great way to color clear resin without having to like stir anything in ferociously for 15 minutes. Anyway, maybe a slight bit of exaggeration. Anywho, so I decided to go with alcohol ink. And on the first layer, I dropped some alcohol ink in, or just the white. And then I swirled that around as a technique that I saw another fabulous YouTuber use, and it had a great effect. And I've done it on a few pieces before, I just don't know if I've done it on camera. So I dropped a bunch of white in there and swirled it around. And then I'm going to go behind that with my colors and drop that on top. And then I'm going to drop more white so those colors can be more vibrant. Alrighty then, see how that turns out. Alright, so now I'm just going to go over the whole thing with my heat gun, get rid of any bubbles, and all of that good stuff, because that's what we do when we finish a piece. And then I'm also going to take the heat gun over these smaller pieces that I did earlier, so we can get it, clean, smooth look, at least as much as possible. Alright, so with that being done, now it is time to demold our pieces. So we're going to start with the Hamsa Hands since I did those first. And the one that I'm taking out now is the one that I brushed the mold with the iridescent pigments and then poured in the translucent color. Yeah, I got it right. And there was also glitter, because look at how that sparkles. Super pretty. So yeah, that's how that looks. And it really, see how it really just catches that detail in the Hamsa hand? Like every bit of it's really just refined, and you can just really see how it pops. Yes, awesome. All right, so this is the other Hamsa hand, where I did not brush the mold with pigments. I just poured it into the resin along with like apparently 80 pounds of glitter, because it didn't look like that much, but it really looks like that much when I take it out the mold. Really bright, really glittery, really festive, super flamboyant. So that's what that turned out like. It almost looks like it's moving. It's so sparkly. I think that'd be up my mother's alley. Anyway, so next is going to be the Lotus Blossom. And I love Lotus Blossoms. It's like one of my favorites. And so I did the same technique with this as I did with the first Hamsa hand. And this one is usually a struggle to get out the mold. We kind of have a fight. I mean, I win because I get it out of there, but still, a lot of trouble and effort. Okay, anyway, so the Lotus Blossoms are actually tea light holders as well, so that's pretty cool. Nice chill ambiance, really nice. So I love the way that turned out. Really nice effect, and brought out some of that detail that's in the Lotus Blossom. Yay. All right, love a triumph. Okay, and last but not least of this set was the feather, and I also brushed that mold with the iridescent pigments and then poured some darker translucent colored resin in the mold. So these are always, a test to get out as well, just because of the way that the mold is made, but it's so worth the effort because I usually love the way the feathers turn out. So I thought this one captured the iridescent look the best. I don't know if it's just the way that it's shaped or the level of detail, but I really thought that it caught the essence of it like very well. So it's hard to pick a favorite because I liked all of them. But yeah, that's what we have for those. Get a nice good look. Yay. Should have taken a picture. I didn't take a picture. Bad me. All right, so next we're going to demold the moon tray. These have really become some of my favorites, and so this is the first one I've ever done with this technique though, because as I talked about earlier, there was that oopsie with having too much resin. But yeah, so that's the outcome. absolutely love how that came out. It almost has this cloudy, wispy sort of effect, which is kind of what I was going for with the technique. But absolutely love the way it came out. So that's all I've got. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.